Hi, Ron, and welcome back to another episode of Grassroots Racer. Tonight, I speak to a driver who races Formula 3, and he's been involved in motorsport his entire life. It's going to be a great episode, everyone. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And guys, if you're watching this on Facebook, please go check out the Spotify. We're trying to build it up on there now. So if you guys could have a look on Spotify, I'd really appreciate that. But tonight, I've got Ryan Astley. So, can you share with us how you first got involved in grassroots motorsport and what sparked your passion for racing?
Yeah, so my passion for racing come from a very early age. Is that was sort of the first sport I knew. My dad, originally being from the UK, grew up with Formula Threes in particular with Alan Docken Racing, and obviously that was just a natural progression for me to sort of get into that. Um, Never having done karting and stuff and jumping straight into a Formula Three was a bit of an eye opener. You certainly knew what was going on when you pressed the brakes for the first time. But yeah, that's how it all sort of happened. Like being at a racetrack from very young, like my uncles used to race as well, so it's always been involved with the family. Just yeah, had to wait a little bit longer for me to start, but yeah, we got there in the end.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool, man. And what really sparked your passion? Because I guess you said you got into it through your dad, but was there a moment that you vividly remember where you said, "This is what I want to do"?
Um, Not exactly. I remember the first real race cars I sort of fell in love with was the Formula 5000s. Don't know why, just single seaters, big V8s. I remember standing when they used to be at the Grand Prix, just that pre-grid behind the fence, and as a young kid watching them start up and just that noise and the whole ground shaking. That was probably the first sort of really, oh, like, yeah, this sport's pretty bloody cool, especially when you, as at a young age, you don't really understand it. Like you just used to run around the pits with, your cousins and mates and stuff.
Yeah.
But when you start to get a bit older, you go, oh yeah, no, this is yeah, pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And as a driver in Formula 3, what has been the most challenging aspect of competing at this level? Because you're racing people who have started in go-karting and their whole lives have raced up until that point, and you've jumped into F3, so you'd be versing people who have a lot more experience than you.
Yeah, definitely makes it hard. I think the biggest thing that I've found is the racecraft is all the karting they've always wheel to wheel, and for me, all I've done basically just played football and basketball. So to go into something like that at such a high speed is it is difficult. And it's just especially in the Formula Threes, everything happens so quick. So I don't know, say for example, a normal car you're going through a corner at 150, but a Formula Three you'll go there at like 215 sort of thing. So
Yeah.
and you're also doing it wheel to wheel, so that opens your eyes. Yeah, it's racing against the guys I'm racing against is hard work because they're very very good drivers. So trying our best, but yeah, it's hard work.
Yeah, and obviously being at a few tracks, what are some of the tracks that you go to? Because even if you did drive at Winton, it'd be a pretty slow track.
Yeah, so yeah, but basically like we've gone from the first round was at Winton to Sydney Motorsport Park, which is a lot faster than Winton, to then Tail and Bend, which is another level again. So Winton's in the Formula Three still very, very quick. Like round the big sweeper at Winton, I think it's turn five or something. We're still doing like 175 to 180k an hour through there. So, and on such a tight track, then you go to somewhere like Corporate Hill at Sydney Motorsport Park is just full noise, like flat out over the top there. So it's just completely different aspects of driving on a different track. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the biggest difference is the speed difference and then the narrowness of the track as well. Yeah, it opens your eyes.
Yeah, it definitely would because I didn't mean sorry that Winton's slow, but I just mean you wouldn't go as quick as you would everywhere else. You'd be slowing down a lot more because at Sydney Motorsport Park and Phillip Island and stuff, they're very high flowing corners, so you can rely on the downforce a bit. Where you got to be going quick to use the downforce. So I guess at Winton through the slow speed corners, it'd be a little bit harder to drive.
Yeah, you are right. Yeah. The thing with Winston as well because it is a slower track. We crank the wings right on, so you got a lot of downforce on the car, which actually make. Well, I personally feel that Winton is the most physical track we go to, just because of the steering loads are so heavy because there's so much like front wing on the car sort of thing. So for me personally, I love Winton. I think it's an unreal track. When you get it right, I used to hate it, hated the joint. But when you half work it out and get it right, it's actually a really good track. But yeah, you notice the steering loads for sure.
Oh yeah, we definitely do as well in the Formula V. Even though we're a slow category, we are so our steering wheels are quite small. I'm not sure how large yours is, but when we go through some of the corners, you've got to palm to push it all the way around because you've got to use that much lock.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same as the Formula 3. F3 is basically exactly the same as the Formula V to a certain degree. Same sort of seating position and small steering wheel. So you haven't got much room in there to move, especially for me. I'm a big boy, like 6 foot tall, like big guy to fit in such a small car. But yeah, it's the same sort of thing with the Formula V. You got to hang on to the thing, that's for sure.
Yeah. Although I feel like people over 6 foot, it's very hard to fit in a race car because I'm only five. I'm bordering on 5'11", right, at 16, and I'm having to move my pedals right back, and we're nearly on the verge of having to move the whole pedal box around because I'm getting too tall, and I'm like, well, I'm not really that tall.
Yeah, that was the issue when we bought the car we've got now. So the guy we bought it off he's probably not that small, but compared to me, he was very small. So we had to move, yeah, get the whole pedal box moved. And it's still a tight fit, but I'm quite a weird shape sort of human. I got like sort of long legs but short arms, so my knees are almost touching the top of the tub, so we sit very sort of like that.
Yeah.
Um, and my knees are touching the tub, so I can't reach the steering wheel. So, yeah, it's tight, but yeah, it's the same sort of thing. Move, you got to move everything to adjust it for you because, as you know, like if you're not comfy, you're not going to go very quick because everything else hurts. So.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about it. So did you guys pour a seat and what you did was did you sit forward and lean back so you're more lying down so that your feet are still reaching but you're close to the wheel?
Correct. Yeah. So, and what we also did, so that's how we poured my seat. And what we also did, we put spaces behind my steering. So, because the F3 is like you can pull, obviously same as yours,
Yeah.
but pull the steering wheel out and stuff. So yeah, we actually put spaces, and because I got like big legs, because I'm tall. I used to have issues with my hands touching the top of my legs when I was turning the steering wheel, so I couldn't get a rotation on it. So we had to bring basically I sit very close to the steering wheel. So we had like I said, we had to put the spacers in just we have had to change the whole car
Yeah.
basically to get me to fit in it. So
Yeah. And I know what you mean. Like as a footy player, you'd have to have strong legs, obviously running up and down the field and jumping for the ball when you got to mark it. So you're gonna have big legs, so it's definitely gonna be tight in the cockpit area.
yeah, it's when the belts get done up, it's not a nice feeling, that's for
Yeah.
sure.
I tell you what, when the belts get done up tight, you feel really uncomfortable, but you know you're in there secure, so that makes you feel a bit more comfortable. It's hard to explain, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I know exactly what you're talking about. Exactly what
yeah,
you're talking about.
yeah. Like it hurts and you squish your balls, but yeah, once you're out there, you don't really feel it. Once you get the
Yeah,
adrenaline pumping,
I know all about that. Know all about that.
yeah. But I did have a look on your Instagram, and it looks like you've driven a Datsun on the track before. So, what's that experience in your racing journey, and what did you sort of learn from driving the Datsun?
Yeah, so that was the first race car sort of proper sort of thing I built compared to a road car. Yeah, I bought that when I was 17, just to get into it. So what I started off doing was I think I did maybe 4 hill climbs in Queensland. So I used to live
Yeah,
from Victoria originally, moved to Queensland, moved back. But yeah, that's where I started off. I did a few hill climbs up there. Did one track day, which is that photo you would have seen.
yeah,
And that's all I did in that car really. So it was just basically a starting point, just to have a crack in it, see if I actually liked it before going out and buying something serious. It still was a bloody serious car. It was 350 horsepower at the rear wheels, and it was 800 kilos.
yeah,
So it was and turbocharged. So um, as a P plater, I think you're unreal, and you get into that and nearly looped the thing as a turbo kicked in as a young kid. So if I could buy any car back, I'd probably buy that thing. It was such a good car.
Yeah. And I had just a quick question for you. Your Formula 3, do you run that with your dad and your family, or do you run under a team?
No, that's correct. Yeah, all family run. So run it out of our house, like our home shed. So everything gets done all at home. And yeah, we don't have any. We have help with data and a bit of setup from Gilmore Racing. So
Yeah.
they're really good. Like they make a massive difference. So that last weekend at Tailem Bend, because we don't do the data, we don't have the data, and we don't really have anyone that knows how to read the data as such. Not having them there really hurt, like not hurt, but made it very hard because yeah, the Formula 3 they're so fast and technical. You got to be on your game with your driving aspect. So I know at Sydney, I got it pulled up in a data. I had no idea I was even doing it, but I was touching the brake pedal in a straight line at like
Hmm.
0.5% or something. Had no idea, but at the end of the straight, I was losing like half a tenth. So just little things like that. But yeah, but we're all doing it ourselves. So Dad got a mechanic, Pete, that also helps, and then actually our neighbour, he comes and spins spanners on it as well. Yeah, mainly Dad does all the work himself. I tend not to touch it because I'm got a mechanic and mine of a rock, so I don't touch it. But yeah,
Yeah.
Dad does everything pretty much.
Yeah, I interviewed Noah Sands. He was, I think, last year's champion. So
Yeah.
but you know what you should do? I was gonna say, because you're a family run, you should do the Petters sprints at Winton, because they've got an open. Oh yeah, I was gonna say they got a formula class there, so they send heaps of formula cars out there. And last time I was there, they actually had an F3 there, so it'd probably be
Oh,
good to do.
yeah, I might look that up. That'd be good. We could just
Yeah.
go and have a bit of fun, have a plane.
Well, it's like doing a test day there, but heaps cheaper. I think it's $250, and you rock up at whatever your cost is. It is.
No, that's all right. That's yeah, I
Yeah.
might think of it. 'Cause we got probably got to do a test anyway eventually. So because I don't drive at all, so
Yeah.
yeah, probably need to do a test. So yeah, might look at doing that.
Mm. Well, yeah. In between my Formula V racing, which happens once a month or once every 2 months, I do rallies and track days in my Subaru. So I just switch rally tires over to street tires, and I do the Pettis sprint at Winton. So I do that in the Subaru, and then I do dirt racing out of town. Just as a little track there that we've got, and we set up meetings and stuff.
So I can't really do that in me high ace van. Probably don't work too well, but yeah, that'd be cool to do.
Yeah. Oh, it's just good to keep your bum in the seat and you're doing something at least. Because we figured we're racing, the more time in the seat, the better. So yeah, that's how we figure it out, and it seems to work really well because I love doing it, and because we've converted the Subaru to rear wheel drive because I'm a junior, I'm not allowed to have it all wheel drive.
Yeah,
It's been good to learn traction control. So as I
yeah,
come out of corners, even on the track, it steps out on me all the time. So I gotta learn how to control it.
yeah. That's what you need too is just learning to slide a car because even just in road terms, not even racing terms, for you to be able to control a car and slide a car, it definitely helps with just general car control. So yeah, what you're doing is a good idea.
Well, yeah, lots of people on the road when it's heavy raining, they'll probably aquaplane and they wouldn't know what to do.
No,
And
yeah, you are right. I've seen it plenty of times. Done it myself as a young kid.
yeah. Oh, in go-karting. In go-karting once I was racing in Albury with Donga, and that track is always flooding. So we had a few big spots on the track, and I come out of the corner and I just ran too wide and I hit the puddle, and done a 360, and next minute I was in the fence, and I was like, well, that's not good, because it just happens so fast you don't really know.
Yeah, it's insane how it happens. That was the same sort of thing. Like actually been very, very fortunate. I've only driven in the wet once. Never driven the F3 in the wet before. Just fluke it. Just doesn't rain. But yeah, that the last round last year at Phillip Island, it just absolutely poured down before the last race.
Yeah, as it does.
Yeah, because we didn't have time to. Everyone was in the same boat. to change tyres. Like we're just going out on slick tyres in a wet Phillip Island, and the outlap, someone's going to die here. Like it was just crazy, just going in a straight line and it's just stepping out on you. But the race got cancelled. But yeah, I know what the old aquaplaning it feels like.
Yeah, actually, when I was about from 2016 to 2018 ish, so that was my go karting years. Dad used to take me out to the local car club, and every time it rained, he'd throw me out on slicks. And I've become a really great wet driver because of it. I was actually at Phillip Island, I think 2, 3 weeks ago, and I was starting 18th in my Formula V, and by the end of lap one, I was P8. So it's just because I don't know why. I just love the rain, but
Oh, good on you. That's pretty impressive to do that. That's
yeah,
especially in one lap. You've done well there.
yeah. Oh well, just the go karting line, really, just around the outside. That's the end of the work.
Yeah,
That's the
probably
biggest tip I got for you. I'm not sure what you know about driving in the wet, but if it starts raining, don't brake on the racing line. Brake in the middle of the circuit and drive on the outside on the marble.
sounds good. I'll do that because yeah, I wouldn't have an idea. I just turn up and wing it and hope for the best. So thanks for that.
Yeah. No, it's something that we learned over years and years because I've been driving for 8 years.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's just something I picked up.
that's always good to know.
Mm. But as a grassroots racer, we all have our great fun stories. So have you got a memorable moment from your racing career you'd like to share?
Probably the first win. That's probably always pretty good.
Yeah.
So the first F3 we had, I had an 2004 model. So they do two classes. So you got the newer cars is what I'm in now, um, and the older cars like what I used to have. And I won. I obviously didn't win outright, but I won my class. So that was pretty cool to remember that. Another one was I won a state round in 2020 in Queensland. Um, I was actually racing. I was in my old car racing the car I've got now, racing against that car, and I ended up winning the race on the last lap on the last corner. So that was pretty beating the car I've got. Beating the car, that was pretty cool. But yeah, I don't really have many. I've had a few good drives like coming through the field. So I think like first race at Winton, I stalled on the grid, went back to like P18 and I finished in P4.
Yeah.
So that just things like that. Yeah, probably don't have one that stands out, but yeah, probably a few little things.
Yeah. I'm a little bit confused on it all these days because I know last year you had F3. Now I know they've got a class called Formula Open. So is it still F3 or is it now just Formula Open?
Yeah, so now it's just Formula Open, but the cars that race in it are Formula Three. So there's a big thing about Formula Three in Europe. So every basically Formula Three car that's logbooked as a Formula Three in their country is not a Formula Three. The only Formula Three that exists is the new ones that race with the Formula One. So like even the British Formula Threes had to change their name to GB3 and just stuff like that. So we've had to do
Right.
the same stuff. So yeah, that's when Tim Macro has come up with the Australian Formula Open, and there's three classes in that as well. So just for the AFO one is like the higher spec Formula Three cars, and there's AFO, I think AFO four, which is like your Formula Four cars, and there's a
Yeah.
few other ones off the top of my head, but yeah, that's basically what we've had to do to get around the whole Formula Three thing. So it's still a F3 car, just called something else, basically.
I doubt anyone in Australia is going to have a FIA Formula 3 car within the next few years, though.
I don't think that's going to be happening at all.
Yeah. So
I
you
reckon those.
race, is it a
No,
Dallara P317?
no. So I'm in a. You were right, a Dallara, but I'm in an F308, and
Close
then
enough.
0811. Yeah. So the newest car here in the country is an F312.
Yeah.
But yeah, majority of the higher ones are such a F30811. So my car is an ex-Carlin car.
Oh, yeah.
So in Daniel Ricciardo raced British Formula 3 and won the championship. His teammate's car was my car basically. So
Yeah.
yeah, they run at the same team, but Yeah, so you were right, basically, it's the F308. But yeah.
Oh yeah, I was just going off the one on iRacing. They look the same, so I just guessed.
Yeah, no, they look the same. Same.
Handle the
Do
same?
the I wouldn't, not too sure. They would to a degree. They got different. So I know the F308, which is what I've got, was the last generation car, basically with the most downforce. So they got rid of the downforce because it's very hard to follow in our cars just because of like the
Yeah,
dirty like what Formula One struggle with. So the F312 that I race against as well, one of the guys has got it in our class. You actually look at them from a distance, they look the same, but when you look at them up close, they are completely different.
mm,
They've actually pulled or like my car's got lots of little barge boards and aero little winglets everywhere, where that car hasn't really got anything, but it's got a massive front wing, so it just uses the air in different ways. So I'm guessing that's the same as the F317, basically.
yeah. Even in Formula V, we our body rules are sort of just follow the chassis. So
Mm.
no wings and whatever. So you just follow the chassis as tight as possible, and then you're allowed the roll hoop, like the scoop. You're allowed
Yep.
that. And we still get dirty air. Like you can't. You can follow people through the corners, but if it's at Phillip Island, you will notice you start to drag out a little bit, get a little bit of understeer. But then down the straights, our slipstream is incredible. Like you'll catch back up to someone in no time.
Yeah, that's what Formula V and same with Formula 4. The racing's always so good because it's
Mm,
yeah, because you can follow people a little bit better than you can in an aero car.
yeah.
Um, I wouldn't have thought. Yeah, for me looking from the outside in, I'd have thought like a Formula V, would still be able to follow quite close without getting a bit of the wash. So that's pretty
Oh,
interesting. But
you can, but I mean, just at Phillip Island, if you get the tow from someone, because our tow, we sort of max out 170, 180 ish, or
yeah,
190. It just sort of depends on the day. We can get up to 200 plus if you got a double or triple tow of someone in front of you. So that's why you get a bit of wash.
yeah, that's picking up some speed. Like it's a big speed difference, like big
Mm.
gain. Yeah, it's
And
massive.
we're 60 horsepower and 500 kilos with the driver as the regs. So we're doing pretty quick.
That's quick for not a lot of horsepower and a lot of weight. So
Yeah. Oh, well,
no,
not
that's
60, sorry. My apologies. It's more 80, low 80, but
still not a lot
yeah,
compared to
we
some
just,
cars.
yeah. Oh, yeah, some cars are just so quick. But even like Rolls Royces, they weigh 3 ton, but they've got so much horsepower.
Yeah, the horsepower always wins.
Yeah. Well, that's why Formula V and Formula Ford 1600, they're close, but Formula Ford are quicker because of the horsepower. But through the corners, the V's are actually quicker.
Yeah,
It's
right.
a different, yeah. So if
I
you were
wouldn't have
to,
thought.
yeah, it's just only because the Formula V's, the way of driving him is you take all the grip out of him and pretty much you're opposite lock the whole time. So we just glide through the corners because we're so light. I run 504 kilos. I've got about 20, 30 kilo like of lead in it. So
Right, okay, yeah.
yeah, we got a
That's,
bit of,
yeah,
and
I don't have that.
I thought I was a big boy.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have any blood in my Formula V if I was racing, that's for sure.
What's your weight power ratio in the Formula 3?
Um, I did Google it, but I don't know how correct it is. It doesn't sound very correct. I mean, it's impressive that it is correct, but I yeah Googled it. As it works out, something like 555 horsepower per ton. So whether that's correct or not, I'm not too sure. So we're running about 210 horsepower
Yeah.
at about, I think it's about, I probably should know this, but I think it's 580 with a driver. So with me, because I'm the heaviest driver in the field. Um, yeah, I think that's what it works out about. So I think dry they're about 480 or something like that. I can't remember off the top of my head. But they're still pretty light, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of horsepower. But you know when you stand on the throttle, it
Mm.
lights them up.
Yeah. Oh, I wouldn't know what that's like, mate. 70 horsepower, we go nowhere.
You'd have a go on an F3, mate.
Oh,
It works out.
maybe you got to let me drive it one day.
I'm sure you can work someone out.
Yeah. Yeah. 20 grand for a test day, mate.
It's definitely not that much, but yeah, we'll work it out.
Yeah. Oh, they're just so incredible. Like on iRacing, not to brag or nothing, but I'm pretty good at their threes on iRacing. But yeah, that's until you go through a corner when you think you got downforce and you don't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You know it. You definitely know it.
Yeah, and have you got any tracks in Australia that hold a special place in your heart that that you've driven on before and you've had some good moments there?
Not really. My like probably sort of apart from that question, I sort of separate it. My favorite track's Phillip Island. I think just the where it is, the place, the fast flowing nature of it. Yeah, I don't really have any that hold a special place in my heart as a sort of thing. I like them all to a degree. Yeah, none of them in a special place, but Phillip Island's definitely the best one here.
What about Formula 3 at Sandown? Do you guys ever race there?
We've got one where we're racing there this year. I've never driven at Sandown, so I couldn't really comment on. I've been there millions of times, but never driven it. Um, yeah,
You'll love it.
yeah. I've heard it's pretty good. Bumpy. I've heard it's very bumpy.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's yeah. We are there this year with the Shannon's National Series.
Oh yeah. See every section of track. So turn one is a piece of tarmac, and then turn two and three is a different piece, and then turn four is a different piece. Then the straight's one piece, and then the end's another piece.
It's all bits
And
up and bits. Of,
yeah, it's all been fixed up, and it's still bumpy everywhere.
yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember I was there. Wasn't there long ago, like watching some sort of race. Now I can't remember what it was, but yeah, might have been the historics or something. And yeah, just watching the cars bouncing on the front straights. Oh, that can't be good for the back. Yeah, you're gonna feel that.
Yeah.
Uh,
What about Calder Park? Are you guys going to race there? Or is that not on the calendar?
not in our calendar. Um, yeah, I wouldn't have thought we would go there. But you never know. But yeah, it's definitely not on our calendar for next this year. But yeah, you don't know about next year. But yeah,
Because it's come back as a general thing for us, so we're allowed back there. Trans Am's going and stuff, and I thought, I wonder if Formula 3 is going to go.
yeah, okay. Yeah, no, we're definitely not going. It'd be pretty cool. Another home race, mate. That'd be all right. Stay in Victoria, but yeah, we're definitely not going there this year.
So you're a Melbourne boy.
Yeah, Melbourne, born and bred and moved away and come back.
Yeah,
And
I've been in Bendigo my whole life, so
oh right, okay.
but
Go through. Yeah,
yeah. Mum grew up in Kyneton, but pretty much lived in Melbourne her whole
yeah.
life until I was born, and then same with Dad. He was just born in Melbourne, and then yeah, they moved to Bendigo for some reason, just for their son to send them back to Melbourne every week.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah. So it is what it is, and yeah, I guess my parents they love it and hate it. They love the fact that I can drive, but they hate that I race.
Yeah, I could imagine. Yeah, my mum's the same. She has a panic attack every time I race. But it's part of. I think it's just that sport, isn't it? And it's just the
Mm.
high speed and the risk. So
Yeah. Although Mum says though she's not worried about me, she's worried about the others, which is fair enough.
oh really? Yeah. I
Yeah.
don't know what my mum says about that, but I think she's more worried about me. But it's what it is.
Yeah. Is there anything else that you're aiming towards racing wise? Have you got any plans coming up with moving into a different category, or do you think F3 is going to be where you're staying for a while?
Um, Not really. I had that whole. I never really got into motorsport because I started quite late. I was 17 when I first bought that Datsun. I
Mm.
started racing properly. I was 20. So then obviously COVID happened and whatnot. So I haven't. It's only my third year racing at all. So I had that whole not like that old Formula One, but I wanted a GT racing. Like I love GT3 racing. Um, I feel like I still feel like that would suit the way my driving style and the way I drive really well. So I feel like my laps, I'm maybe not the fastest outright on the track, but I feel like I'm very consistent. So I feel like in a like an endurance sort of race that would become really handy.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, the whole GT3 thing was the where I wanted to go. And then sort of the older I got, oh, it's pretty hard to make it. So if something came of it, or I'm not going to stop trying. Um, yeah, I don't really have any aspirations to sort of go anywhere. So just age isn't on my side anymore. So as weird as that sounds, but yeah,
Yeah. You should definitely look into Asian Le Mans. They've
yeah. Someone about that at the last that Taylor and Ben last
yeah.
weekend, that Asian sort of series, and yeah, I look at doing something. I had someone message me on Instagram over the weekend about a GT3 drive in Europe, but that was just a slight bit out the old budget that one. That one. So but yeah, definitely that might be somewhere to look.
Well, because I know they do still do a bit of racing in Australia anyway, so I think it'd be good. I think those LMP2s handle similar for like. So I'm only talking from iRacing, but from iRacing, they're sort of similar in the sense that they get to speed as quick, and you've still got quite a amount of downforce. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you from real experience.
No, neither, mate. So, but, yeah, I could imagine that's what that'd be like watching on board cameras and stuff. Yeah, they go all right. So, probably, yeah, very similar to the Formula Three. Just probably brake a little bit better with the carbon brakes and accelerate with better horsepower, I guess. But yeah, probably
Mm.
pretty similar.
Yeah, definitely. And have you got any sponsors that are currently on board, and are you looking for some?
Yeah, oh, any sponsors are welcome. But yeah, I've currently G Technic Australia, so they've been really, really good for me. They backed me from when I first started, so having no racing experience, no nothing, it was hard to find sponsorship. But yeah, Phil from G Technic's been unreal. He just backed me from a like basically since I started. And he's been awesome. He's been anything I've wanted to do. Um, yeah, he's been unreal. KCK Lubricants as well. So they're part of Gilmore Racing. They basically just help with data and the track sort of stuff, plus with their oils and lubricants. We actually run them in the Formula 3. And yeah, they're awesome. I can't say a bad word about them.
Mm.
Uh, got the Pullman Albert Park Hotel. So at the Grand Prix, my car goes on display inside the lobby
Oh yeah,
there, the Grand Prix. So yeah, they've jumped on board as well. They help out. Um, and Freem Racewear too. They also help out with few gloves and stuff like that.
that'd be so cool, man. So yeah, obviously you can't do racing without sponsors. So they're a very crucial thing to have. And like I know what you mean, man. With when you're sponsored by a lubricants company, sometimes people go, yeah, yeah, as if he uses them. But like we even use Royal Precision Lubricant stuff in our cars, but just because they they make it to suit. They sponsor me and a few other racers in drag racing and speedway. So they've actually put together a racing range. So luckily for us, they sort of make race oils now because they did a
Yeah.
lot of agricultural farm stuff.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So, yeah, just little, doesn't have to be money as such.
Mm,
It like just be anything, just little bits help here and there. It all adds up at the end. Like, I think a lot
yeah.
of people have money, money, money. Like, we need money to go racing. It's not all about that.
Mm,
It's just a little like your fuel bill or oils or just little things like that all adds up and it all makes it worthwhile at the end.
yeah. And even at the grassroots level, because a number of my sponsors, they say, look, we're local business, we can't help with money, and we say that's fine, and they're happy to help out with their services. Lots of them provide good services for us, and we really do appreciate that because at a at grassroots levels, it's pretty easy to get away with that stuff. But if I was a V8 supercar team, I'm not going to look for resources. I'm going to look for money. But luckily for me, I'm only at a grassroots level at the moment.
Yeah, I think like I said, any little bit helps. I think yeah, you are right. Like it doesn't matter what it is. It's just at least I think the big thing is that they're taking their time out to look after you or
Mm.
back you or just be involved. I think that's a good thing in itself.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you coming in and joining me on the show. And it's been great to hear about your motorsport journey. It's been a little bit different to what I'm used to because you joined motorsport so late, and you've jumped in, and you've been showing a few people up already, so you're doing really good. And yeah, hopefully the future goes well for you. You can maybe move into Asian Le Mans, something like that. And yeah, I wish you the best of luck for the rest of the year.
I appreciate it. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Yeah. And to anyone racing this weekend, remember, drive fast and take chances safely, of course.